this evening. Thank you, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, Radha Priya Devi, for opening the doors of your home for all of the assembled devotees. His Holiness Radhanath-Swami Maharaj has sung this very, very deep, prayerful song composed by Govinda Das. I'm sure it was at the request of Shikshastakam. This prayer has given shelter and direction to great personalities for hundreds of years. In fact, Niranjan Swami Maharaj, when he sings this, it is something very deep. His remembrances during the communist regime in the former Soviet Union, religion was banned. People who went against the state to practice any spiritual system that was not totally controlled by the state were persecuted and sometimes killed. Srila Prabhupada, along with Shyam Sundar Prabhu, went to Moscow in 1971. Srila Prabhupada was invited by a scholar, Professor Katowski, to address them on the Vedic knowledge. And Srila Prabhupada and Shyam Sundar Prabhu were continuously watched over by KGB. Powerful intelligence force of Russia at that time. And Srila Prabhupada saw in this largest nation in the world, at that time the second most powerful country on the planet, he saw that people were so suppressed and depressed, but they had such good hearts. Very special people. And he predicted that soon tens and thousands of people will be chanting the names of Krishna in the city of Moscow, the country of Russia. And Shyam Sundar Prabhu was witness to that prophecy. Great devotees like Niranjan Swami Maharaj, who conveniently appeared to be coughing and left to not hear me praise him. He went at that time. And he was underground in disguise. And people were so eager, hungry, thirsty, starving. Shyam Sundar Prabhu in 1972 brought he smuggled in the country one Bhagavad Gita accidentally. He didn't even know he had it. His wife, Malati, put it in his suitcase before he left. It was totally illegal. That Bhagavad Gita, people were so hungry for something spiritual that people were just reading it in just a couple days and then giving it to the next person, next people. People were Xeroxing it and writing it. They were starving. and they had to hide and fear for their lives. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Goswami Maharaj, who was a PhD in chemical biology, yes? Something like that. When the KGB heard that he was interested in this movement, they were so disturbed that if a man of this caliber becomes a Hare Krishna devotee, he could influence others on such a powerful scale. In fact, the communist regime considered three things greatest threats to the communist government: Western music, Western clothes, and the Hare Krishna movement. They were threatened because they understood the philosophy in these books will convince people's intelligence. There's such a scientific, philosophical presentation of the reason for spirituality that the people of Russia who love to read books will be convinced if they read them. So they brought him to the KGB headquarters, and first they threatened, they intimidated him, threatened him, tried to bribe him in so many ways. And after a full day of that, he was just a visitor, just starting to attend. He was thinking, if the KGB is so fearful of this movement, it must be real. The KGB made him commit his life. Or let us say Krishna used them to influence him. Young women with children had miscarriages. And even some died of malnutrition, of freezing. And whoever was practicing, they knew this. That if they were caught, this could be their fate. But they had such commitment, such conviction. Bhajahure manasri nandanandana abhaya charanara vindare. My dear Lord, there is one God, the one supreme God of all. Aham bija pradapita. Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. My dear mind, please worship the Lord. Take shelter, because in taking shelter of the Lord, through service, one will be eternally free of all fear. There are so many things to fear in this world. Fear of death, fear of infamy, fear of poverty, fear of disease, fear of broken heart, fear of abuse, fear of heat and cold and natural disasters. How many things can come upon us to create fear? But the transcendental state really means to find that happiness, that shelter, and that stability that rises us above the waves of the ocean of material existence. Vishayavani vartante niraharasudeyana rasavarajam rasopyasya param trispani vartate. That when one experiences the higher taste, when one experiences even a particle of a drop of the love of God, one becomes fearless. because one realizes the soul's transcendent position and one understands the supreme protection of the Lord. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Maro Virako Vicho Ichadohar. He prayed, my Lord, if you want to kill me or if you want to protect me, do whatever you like. I am your servant unconditionally. Such faith, such trust, which wasn't based only on an intellectual exercise, but was based on divine experience. I love you and I trust you so much, my Lord. Whatever you do, I know it's best. I'm yours. I'm your servant. That is actually the state of complete fearlessness. How to attain that fearlessness? Durlabha manava janama satsangi taraha eva vo sindhure. That this human life is very rare. Padma Purana describes there are 8,400,000 species of life. There is the aquatics, vegetation of trees and plants. There's the insects and reptiles, birds, beasts. And the eternal soul evolves through the lower species. And when it comes to the great fortune, the soul takes birth in human life. What is the greatness of human life? It is the junction where a human being has the power to discriminate what is right and what is wrong. Animals, lower species, have no such power. They simply act according to their instinctive natures. A human could be a saint or a murderer, pious or impious. At every moment we have free will. And because we have free will, the only human being is responsible for every action and every word. That is the laws of karma. For every action there is an equal corresponding reaction. The animals and the birds, the insects and the reptiles and the fish and the plants, they're not responsible for anything they do. If a dog runs through a red light, he doesn't get a traffic ticket. But if I go through red light, well, why didn't you give ticket to the dog? Because you are a human being. You're supposed to know better. So human life is it's a life of responsibility. And along with this responsibility comes the greatest benediction. The opportunity for everlasting peace, everlasting happiness, and pure love. By simply realizing the substance of who we are. Durlabha manava janama satsange. Human life is very rare, but what is most rare in human birth is the association of saintly persons. Mat chitta mat gata prana bodhiyanta parashara. In the association of saintly persons, our spiritual enlightenment is natural. By hearing about the virtuous topics of spiritual perfection, by chanting the names of God, by inspiring one another in morality and service to the Lord, devotion. The circle of devotees inspires and protects. Therefore, it is the greatest benediction. It is a gift of God. Srimad Bhagavatam describes all the wealth in the entire planet, all the wealth in the heavenly planets beyond this world, even the attainment of great mystic cities, ability to perform miraculous feats, all of it combined is not equal to even a moment's association with a pure devotee who loves Krishna. Why is that? Because money, wealth, prestige, power, Kamaladala Jala Jivanatala. In this song it describes they're like a drop of water on lotus, on a leaf of a lotus. It is there and it is gone by the power of time. But even a moment's association with saintly persons can awaken the aspiration for the highest eternal truth. Therefore, there is nothing so precious. And tonight, I'm so happy to be in the association of some of my very dearest friends. If we are grateful for what God gives us, then our heart is fertile and receptive to receive the blessing that has come upon us. If we are ungrateful, even if a blessing comes, we can't digest it. In the Bible, Lord Jesus said, if you put a seed, a good seed, on rocks, it can't grow. If you put a seed on a barren field, it can grow maybe, but very, very slow. If you put rock in a place where birds are going to eat, if you put a seed in a place where birds are going to eat it, it's not going to grow. But if you put that seed in a fertile field, it will very quickly grow into a plant, develop fruit, and that fruit will be very sweet. So a grateful heart is like a heart that is a fertile field. It can accept and digest mercy when it comes. So gratitude to the Lord for giving us the association of people who inspire our hearts is one of the most important factors on the path of Dharma, of Krishna consciousness. So I'm very grateful this evening that some of my world's best friends have come. We have His Grace Shyam Sundar Prabhu. What can I say about Shyam Sundar Prabhu? He was so dear to our Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, so very dear. He was Prabhupada's personal secretary for years. And he did such incredible things. Prabhupada came, he just had one little storefront in New York City in 1966 with just a couple dozen people who were interested. Mukunda Maharaj and Janaki Devi came from there to San Francisco and told Shyam Sundar Prabhu about Prabhupada. Prabhupada came to San Francisco and he organized the mantra rock dance. Now those of you from America, you will understand what is this mantra rock dance. And those of you from India will probably be bewildered. Shyamsundar Prabhu called his personal friends to perform for free as secondary acts to Srila Prabhupada's lecture in Kirtan. Kirtan means chanting the holy names. It was in the Avalon Ballroom. And Prabhupada was the, the main attraction, and just listed in small letters underneath him were Shyamsundar Prabhu's friends who agreed to do this benefit, to raise funds, to start a little storefront temple. Amongst those who played on this event were the Grateful Dead, Big Brother and the Holding Company, Canned Heat, Jefferson Airplane, Quicksilver Messenger Service, and Moby Grape. Are you bewildered? Srinakarta Prabhu, are you bewildered? Carrie, are you bewildered? Is there any one of those you didn't hear of? Is there any one of those you didn't listen to? That's why you're so special. You heard. These were the top influential musicians of America. And Shyamsundar Prabhu brought them all together in one place at one night, just to attract thousands and thousands and thousands of people to hear Srila Prabhupada's message. Incredible. And then Prabhupada sent him to London. And he decided the most influential people in the world are the Beatles. They should know about Krishna. Within a few months, Shyamsundar Prabhu became George Harrison's lifelong best friend. By Shyamsundar Prabhu and Mukunda Maharaj and the others, by their sincere efforts, when Prabhupada came to London, he stayed a couple months, yes, in John Lennon's house. John Lennon would regularly come to meet with Prabhupada. Yoko Ono, George Harrison, Paul, Ringo, they all were meeting with Prabhupada. And then year after year, Shyamsundar Prabhu remained George's best friend. And when George was leaving this world, he did it in a very, very quiet and private place. And he asked Shyamsundar and Mukunda to be at his bedside. Shyamsundar was with me in Vrindavan. And remember, he came from Vrindavan all the way to California. We brought him beautiful deities of Radha and Krishna and chanted for him. And in this way, as a real friend, graciously helped him remember God at the time of death. Yes, Shyamsundar Prabhu was a real friend. Thank you very much. And Niranjan-Swami Maharaj, we already spoke about him so nicely, but you disappeared. Now let us see if he starts coughing. He's the very embodiment of humility and sincerity and kindness. Really, so kind, such an affectionate, loving heart, and yet so deeply knowledgeable of the scriptures. He's everyone's friend. Beautiful, beautiful singing kirtans. He's a wonderful devotee. And how he tolerates me and all the things I tell him is a great wonder. he still glances upon me with affection. This is a mystery. One of my very dearest friends in life. And we had Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj, who we discussed. Just a little unassuming person who will only sit in the back corner of the room. He was asked to come here, but it will break his heart so much if we pressurize him that we will just let it be. Maharaj, we told how he came, very qualified person, could be earning huge sums of wealth, very influential, he could be powerful in materialistic ways, but he chooses to live as a simple mendicant renunciate. Incredible sacrifice. And how much of a load of responsibility he has. Tens and thousands of people are influenced by the decisions he has to make. Not only their jobs, but their hearts and their lives. And he's so kind and so humble and so deeply learned. He just treats every single devotee with such respect and affection. It is extraordinary. And tonight he has come to give us his precious association. We have Trinakarta Prabhu, such a soft-hearted person. Although externally he's a very tough man, his heart is so soft. He has so much love for Krishna, so much love for his Gurudev, and so much love for the Vaishnavas. So dedicated, wonderful children, 3 sons who are just outstanding personalities. And one of my very dearest friends. And I'd like to introduce to you Titikshava Karunaka, which means he's very tolerant and very merciful. Titikshava Karunaka Prabhu is now living near San Diego, California. And he's been serving Srila Prabhupada's mission for about 20 years. And he's done so many wonderful services. But the speciality which drew him here on this occasion was his wonderful musical abilities. He is a rock and roll musician who writes very beautiful devotional songs to help uplift people's consciousness, to awaken love of God within people's hearts through his singing. And Shyam Sundar Prabhu is George Harrison's best friend. When Shyam Sundar Prabhu was singing to make a record with Jamuna, he had Paul McCartney doing the mixing for him, and George Harrison doing the backup guitar playing. This is Shyam Sundar Prabhu. Now Shyam Sundar Prabhu listens in ecstasy every day to Tikshava Karunaka's CDs. Now, I've not heard your CDs, so I'm sorry. But that's such a personality. Shyam Sundar Prabhu is praising your CDs and just talking about you for months to bring you to Bombay to perform for this big Pandal program that we're coming. That speaks oceans of knowledge of who Titikshaka Karunaka really is. So we're very grateful that you have come. And Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj has brought wonderful devotees. Yamunacharya has just arrived today. He is godbrother of many of you from Moscow, very successful businessman, but very humble, very dedicated, wonderful soul, gentle. And there is someone else I'd like to introduce you to. A friend that has tolerated my existence longer than anyone else, besides my immediate family. This is Gary. Gary and I were friends from our small childhood. We would play in the fields together. We would play and run and do baseball and sports together. And later on, as we came into the turbulent teenage years, we experimented with so many other ideas together. And we went through revolutionary stages together. We went to Westridge Elementary School together, to Red Oak Grammar School together, to Deerfield High School together, and to Miami-Dade Junior College together. Yes? And we were best friends throughout. Very, very close friends. Because in America, it's very rare to find people who are friends for more than a couple of years at a time. Even a couple of years is a long time. I don't know how it is in India, but for young children, they're friends for a couple of years, and then they find somebody else and somebody else and somebody else because they just get tired of each other. Yes. We were the type of friends that really trusted. And we had great loyalty to each other. And actually, he is very much responsible for my being with you today. And not only today, but for knowing you at all. When I think of it, he's very much responsible. So please don't hold it against him too much. And I'll tell you why. I was studying various religious books and practicing various types of meditation when I was living in America. Trying to find alternative answers to questions in life, and rebelling against things that I thought were hypocritical and not right, and trying to find higher experience beyond just materialism, the status quo. But I hitchhiked from Chicago to New York City in the summer of 1970. And I was at a friend's house in New York City. His name was Steve. And I got a phone call from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, from Gary. And Gary said, I'm with our friend Frank, and we want to discuss something with you. Please come to Philadelphia. Cherry Hill is right near Philadelphia. So I went down there, and they told me we're going to Europe for the summer. We want you to come with us. Now, I never considered going to Europe or anywhere. But he said, we're going to Europe for the summer. Come with us, just come. Forget everything else, just come. They were very convincing. And I was very convincible. How long did it take you to convince me? 2 minutes. So, along with Gary, we took the cheapest of all airlines. Do you remember? What was his name? Icelandic Airlines. It cost like $59. $59? How many rupees is that?
At that time, 480 rupees.
480 rupees
At that time.
to take a flight from New York to Iceland to Luxembourg, which is a country in Europe. So we took that flight, and he was the one that convinced me. We told our parents we'll be back in 2 months to continue school. Yes. But that never came to be. The first day we were in Europe, we got robbed. Yes. We were at a camping site in Luxembourg. We were just so nice. Europe, Arrivo. It was the first time we ever came out of America. You're a teenager just leaving your country for the first time without parents, without anybody. You're just on your own. We felt like we have attained social mukti. We were liberated. We were seeing, here's Europe. We'll be going to England and Switzerland and France and Holland and so many places. And we could do anything and everywhere. Free. We were so happy. It's first time not in America. We got there, we took rest at night in a tent on the ground, and the next morning the sun rose and we were just looking outside and thinking what a wonderful life this will be. And then we came back in the tent and saw that we were robbed. Yes, somebody stole. Frank Gary and I just had a few dollars. Frank brought a lot of money. He was supposed to support us through that trip. He was actually a responsible person who had jobs and very intelligent. He brought a lot of money. And the idea was he would support us for this trip. Everything was stolen. And that same day, he took the next flight back to New York. And he couldn't believe Gary and I were going to stay with practically nothing. But we stayed. And the way we lived was very, very simple. We could discuss that another time. At a certain point, there was a separation in our paths. And if you want to hear that story, which is quite extraordinary, please come to Birla House on Saturday evening. But come on time, not like tonight. And we will tell that story there. Is everyone coming? But a beautiful thing is, although our lives have taken very, very different directions, the loyalty, the gratitude, the love that we feel for one another is always growing as very, very dear and best friends. A few years ago, we were walking on the lawn of the Baha'i Temple in Wilmette. It's at Winnetka, near Chicago. And he said to me, Swami, Gary said to me, Swami, how is it that we could be such good friends? Because our lives are so different. He said, my whole life is to teach people that they'll be happy if they have strong, healthy bodies. And your whole life is telling people that they're not their bodies. Gary is a physical trainer at the Malibu gym. Do you know where is Malibu? Malibu is a very, very wealthy, famous place in California with very famous people who have always loved to live in Malibu. It's right near the ocean. And Gary, actually, he traveled hitchhiking through Europe, Middle East, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, every country of Africa, every country of South America, Central America, Mexico, and US. 5 years, yes. Very, very courageous. And then he went to law school because he wanted to be like Mahatma Gandhi. So he went to law school. That was his idol, yes? So he went to law school, became a lawyer, but then realized what being a lawyer is all about. Mahaprabhu can confirm. And in the process, because he became so emaciated, malaria and hepatitis and all kinds of dysenteries and other diseases, he just wanted to get his health back together, and soon he became a champion bodybuilder. When we knew each other, he was skinnier than me. And then people knew he was so expert at this art, bodybuilding and physical fitness, that they actually invited him to work and do that. So very, very important, prominent people of society, he is teaching like that. And he said, how can we such different lives, and yet we can be such good friends? So I shared my thoughts with Gary. And I said, Gary, the body is the temple of God. And you teach everyone how to make their temple very nice. And I'll try to teach them what to do inside the temple. So this is the justification for us to be best friends. But whenever I come to Malibu Beach, which is once a year, he has such wonderful friends, very pious, just deep thinking, good people, very spiritually inclined people. And he so kindly introduces them to me, arranges nice programs where there can be nice interactions. And now reciprocation. He brings his friends and opens all of their hearts to accept me. And today he has come to Bombay on my invitation. I've been inviting him to come for many years. And I'm requesting all of you to open your hearts to know and love my dear friend Gary. Let us very enthusiastically welcome